Hello and welcome along to our latest in a series of Studio Lab tutorials. This one we're going to take you through how to make this little desktop football game here. Simplified version of the game of soccer, and you're going to need the following equipment to do that. You're going to need your safety glasses, the two standard screwdrivers that come with your machine in case we need to change a blade. You're going to need 4 of these little screw-in hooks, pencil, ruler, some elastic bands. You're going to need your hot glue gun at some point, some sheets of sandpaper, and it is advisable for this one to have a couple of full sheets of sandpaper as well as the little offcuts, and you'll find out why pretty soon. Our flat sheets of material, you're going to need 2 of those as your 2 bases, and you're going to need some pre-cut strips of our wood which you've glued together with your hot glue gun. So what I did before we came on is I squeezed myself a whole heap of hot glue gun along there. I put it on the edge of my table, put another one on top, and then I was able to use the 2 clamps that come with your machine if you're doing this at home from our home hire service. Put those on there. By the time you've clamped those down, you have another 2 ready to go. So you're going to need those pre-made, ready for the walls of your game. The idea behind the game is that each person playing sits opposite from each other, and quite simply you're just going to hold this. This is in 2 parts. We're going to make a little adaptation to that by adding another wall in here, but for this purpose of this demonstration, this is in 2 parts. I'm just going to hold that gently with my hand, and on the beginning of the game you can set a timer or you can count down 3, 2, 1, go. The idea is for each person to take their bottle tops and using this elastic band here to spring them, he said, so they go through the goal in the center. Get that out of the way. So all the time I'm trying to do this, the person opposite is trying to get theirs in my half of the game. Not doing this very successfully. There you go. So I've got that one, I can knock that one through with there. So now this person has 5, I'm down to 3. The idea is that the person with no bottle tops on their side wins the game. So you're getting them through to the opposition side as quickly as you can. So you're going to need 8 of those. I've got 8, you can have as many as you want. These are small plastic drinks, screw-on caps, which I've saved up over a period of time in order to make this, so I'm going to take those out. And aside from the cutting of the strips, there's very little cutting on here to do. We're going to make an opening for our goal, but quite simply you're just going to take some of your sheets and you're going to cut yourself a series of strips. I did mine 3 centimeters high. Holding my hand together, following those lines accurately, cut a whole load of strips. You're going to need for 8 walls, 4 walls for each side, for each sheet. So we're going to place them to one side. I've got my walls cut. I'm going to get rid of this for now. Just place that to one side. We're going to come back to that one later. So now my walls are cut, it's a matter of building 4 walls around each piece of wood. Now the reason we're going to need some full sheets of sandpaper is because when your strips go together, they're not always going to be even. They're going to be slightly out of line and you're going to have old glue on there. And quite simply, if that won't stand up on your sheet of wood, you've instantly got a problem. So first things first, you're going to choose what you consider to be the best edge. So looking at this one, I clearly think this one is the best edge. And you're going to do some of this. Now I'm going corner to corner on my sheet of sandpaper. I'm holding it firm with one hand. I'm trying to keep this as vertical as I can. The idea behind this is that when I bring it to my wood, it should be able to stand up. Don't worry about the old glue on top. We can always pick that off later before we finish, but they all should be able to stand up like that. Might have some that can already stand by themselves, actually. There you go. So we're going to just do a quick check of my walls, making sure I've got an edge on there that's going to be able to stand up. Four right there. If they stand and they lean over, that's also not good, because you want them to stand and be 90 degrees vertical when we've done this. So as I'm doing this, I'm looking down there and I'm making sure I'm not tilting to either side and being absolutely upright and vertical with this. So when it goes on, it's going to stand, whoops, it's going to stand nice and straight. That one might do. So I'm going to do 4 on each piece of wood. That's 2. I've got 2 pieces for my base, 1 for each player. My opposition has 4 walls and I have 4 walls. So we're going to build the walls of our stadium, if you like, 4 strips on each. Like so. So I've got 4 and 4. I did a couple of, maybe 1 extra there in case I made a mistake. So I've got 4 walls and 4 walls. Sandpaper out the way, it's time now to start building. So the first thing to do is we're going to make a perimeter around the outside. I'm going to stick, you're going to need your hot glue gun at this stage, used by an adult with you to help you do this. And we're going to do that so it's level with the outside edge of the wood. Not crooked like this, not overhanging like this, but level with the outside. So when I run my finger along there, I've got the edge of my sheet level with that wood. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. You can either put the glue onto your piece of wood, or you can put the glue onto your flat piece of wood, or you can put the glue onto the wall. Whichever way you choose, the idea is to operate quickly because this glue is setting all the time and we don't want that to go cold. If it goes cold, it's not going to stick. So I've got it lined up. I'm pressing that nice and firm, adding a bit of pressure to it. Wall number 1 is in place. So there are various ways that you can work your way around here. You can go number 2. You can see where you have to cut it. So let me put that on there now. I've made a little bit of a pencil line so I know where this one has to be. I can take my ruler and I can make sure I hold that line 90 degrees across there before I cut it. Actually, I'm going to put my 3rd wall in place and mark the inside line of that one. You'll see the difference in a moment. Just let me chop that first and then I'll explain a little better. So the idea being that I have 2 short ends. So when I come to put my central wall on, what's going to be my goal area, that goes up against the ends of the 2 end pieces. Now, even though our wood is twice as thick now, our blade is still long enough to go through there, but I want you to remember that you have to push even slower. It's not the same as going through 1 thickness of wood where you can push reasonably quickly. On this, very, very slow with your pushing. I'm going to copy off that one because, of course, I need 2 of these, 1 on each side. Place it so it's level with the end. Place it so it's level here. And I'm going to chop that now. Quick check on there, yes. Now for this one, you realize that not only can it stick on the bottom of the strip, it can stick on the end of the strip. So on this, I have 2 gluing areas. 1 on the end, that's going to go up to the first wall I did, and 1 on the base. Holding it firm till the glue sets. 2nd wall. 3rd wall. Again on the end to go up against that one. Sliding it to the outside so it lines up with the base. There it is, nice and firm. Picturing also in your eye that you have it vertical. We don't want any of these walls to look as if they're crooked and leaning over. So I'm going to do my other one exactly the same before I start to concentrate on the goal area, the central piece. I'm going to pop that out of the way, and I'm going to repeat that process one more time. Long wall first. Spots of glue. Right up to the end, level with the outside edge. Next wall, I'm going to place up to there. I'm just going to top a piece of waste wood so I know when that goes in there, where is that line going to be? There it is. So making the cut for my short wall on this side of my game. Remembering I'm going to need 2 of those, so while I've got it in front of me, I'm going to put that up against a second wall and cut that one as well. Gluing those into place, remember I can do the end area as well as the base area. Level with the outside edge, holding it down for a minute or 2 just until the glue sets. End of this piece, base of this piece. Like so. Okay, so I have now the 2 halves of my game, and all that's missing now is the central wall that's going to go down there. Now out of this one is where I'm going to cut the opening or the goal that the bottle tops are hopefully going to go through when you play the game. So we're going to need 2 of those, 1 on each side. First thing to do is find the middle of this piece of wood. So from our standard sheets, you will see that these lengths are 29.5 centimeters, 14.5 giving us halfway. The reason I've marked that halfway is because I want the goal to be in the center. So looking at the distance of my bottle top, lining that up with the center. Now you can decide how wide you want to make the goal. If you want this to be very difficult, you're going to make it very tight, but that's going to ruin the game. Not many people will get it through. So I'd say allow a good centimeter either side. So I've got the diameter of my top. I'm going to go a centimeter either side. I think that's plenty of space for people to get through. So we've got that area there. Placing my bottle top on, I think that's plenty big enough. And now we come to the height. I can use my saw table to do that on, and I can put that there and I can get the height of the bottle top. But again, I want to make sure I'm a little kinder. I'm going to maybe 5 millimeters or so higher than it needs to be. So I've clearly got now the area that I need to cut out for my goal. So let's cut this one first. And to save marking that out, I can simply hold it up against my next one here, and I can make sure that they're nice and flat on my saw table. Gripping those tightly together, I can mark the position on there. I'm just going to give myself a little symbol to make sure when I put those on, those two X's are in the same position. Rather than do one there and one there and risk those being out of line, I'm going to make sure that they go on my game in that position with the two little X's lined up. So cutting out the second goal now. Checking that my walls are going to stand, this final goal wall is going to stand before I put them on. Just notice that one is a little out of line. That's better. This one, yeah, that's standing up fine already. So I don't need to sand that anymore. So find out where the X is, there it is. Hot glue gun along the bottom edge, but also very quickly alongside each of the edges that are going to make contact with the side walls when I press this on. So that down there, pressed on. I've got a little overhang of one of my bases there, but that's not an issue. I can just trim that off in a second. Notice where the X goes on there. I'm going to put this one, the X lined up. Remember we talked about that symbol. You can clearly see it. I'm going to put this one up to here now. So glue on the base where it made contacts with the base, and glue on these two end areas where they will push into the side wall. Let's get rid of that glue. There it is, there and there. Okay, now when I try and put mine together, I've got a gap running down there. It's caused by this overhang. So before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and trim that overhang off on my machine. Now, because I want those two faces to butt up against each other, I'm just going to use my sandpaper again to make sure I get that face nice and flat. Make sure there's no old glue you can pick off first. So I've got my game standing upright on its edge. Using that full sheet of sandpaper. You can go all the way round on there if you wish. You can see we've got some excess glue on here where we can pick off. It's a little unsightly. You might just want to go around and remove all of that. Any excess pencil you might want to get rid of with a pencil eraser or some sandpaper. Make sure your sides are smooth and well finished all the way around. So for me, that should close up a lot better without that gap that we had a moment ago, and it does. That's going to go in there, take off that old glue. And now all that's left is to put the fixings for the elastic bands. So the one tool I didn't mention at the start is this one. This is a bradawl. It's quite a useful piece of equipment, but it has quite a dangerous tip on there, only to be used by adults. This is to give you a starting point whenever you've got screws to go into wood or threads of any kind to go into wood. So I'm going to use this to get my starting hole made for my metal hooks. You don't have to. Our wood is soft enough to do without this. These are the kind of hooks that you want to buy. And you can see that I'm just going to make them go into the side of each player, if you like. And I'm going to do that maybe 4-5 centimeters or so. The theory behind this is that if you put this too far, let me do this. If you put this too far against the back wall, you're not going to have much to spring your caps forward. If you put it too far forward, you're going to have a lot of power. So about 4.5 centimeters is a good distance to do that. Now I've made the start position for this hook. I'm going to push and turn and push and turn. And you'll find that before long they will start to grip into the wood. Our wood is very soft to be able to take these. We're going to wind those in as much as we can. We don't want those bending when you pull the elastic back. There we go, that's nice and strong. Like so. I might just use a quick piece of wood actually, just to place that in there. And mark off the position of that one. Let's get that faced up a little. So that one was screwed in that position. So if I transfer that measurement to the other side, it is there. So both my screw holes are the same distance apart. Make a mental note also, how far up off the base of your game have you screwed that there? And I did that with the brad all sitting flat on the base. So if I do the same this side, that gives me a position there. Just a couple of turns to make a start, turn it round and put this one in. We're going to do the same on the other side. Both players have the same screw fixings, hook fixings, and then the only thing left is to attach our elastic bands, which is going to generate the power, and then our game should be good to go. You've then got the option with your coloured marker pens and things to generate some. You can go with team colours, you can have a nice green, you can put the usual penalty area lines on there, you can go crazy and design your own game graphics on the outside. Okay, so I'm just going to take that one off and I'm going to make the same distance. I'm just sort of looking above, where did I put that? There it is there. Where did I put this one? And it's that distance there. So I've got my distances for the two hooks on this side now. This will also ensure that both players are going to generate the same amount of power as they play the game. Just give that one a start and give this one a start with my brad awl. Final two hooks to go in. You can see I've got some unsightly pencil lines on the inside of here, which I will clean off before I present to my opposition player the finished game. We don't want any rough pencil lines in there. The whole thing will be sanded and painted, or sanded and decorated with marker pens. A little extension activity for this game. I've seen some students build themselves some sort of terraced areas on the side. I've even seen one with an opening roof on top. Some people have really gone to town with this and made it far more football stadium-like than I'm going to do on mine for this little tutorial today. Okay, so we have our two opposing sides. Move our sandpaper out of the way. Our two opposing sides here. Got our gap in the middle there. We can see that our caps go very nicely through there, he said. Yeah, go nicely through there, that's fine. And now the elastic bands. So if you get a pack like I did, try and use the same color code. For example, green, because this is going to mean that both sides will generate the same amount of power. So I've got 2 green per side, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to slip that one through there and do that. Okay, just a quick knot in the center of 2 standard elastic bands. Whatever elastic band you use will determine how powerful your shots are. A bit of a clue, I've played this with really powerful elastic bands. You may think that gives you an advantage, but it doesn't. It sort of decreases your accuracy. So all that we do is hook that one side, hook it on the other. This one is ready to go. Like so, that's good enough. And also when you put your elastic bands on, make sure that the elastic band is coming about halfway up the bottle cap. If you want to lower the elastic bands, just simply push down on these hooks either side and it makes it lower. Okay, so flip that around, same either side. So one more time, one goes through like so. You take hold of it and you sort of fold it back on itself and grab hold of it as you pull. There. That goes on one, that goes on the other. Now, different to the one I showed you at the start, the reason why I've, with hindsight, I might add, put this extra wall on here is because when you want to transport this, you can now do that. And you can hook off the elastic bands and wrap them around the outside. So it transports like a sort of book, if you like, that way, of course, so you make sure the caps don't fall out. And when you get to where you're going, if you want to make it a travel game or a game you might pack to take on holiday with you, there it is. So we've got our bottle caps either side, 2 teams of 4, like so. I always start the game by lining them up in the same position so no one has an advantage. 4 players on the right hand side, wait for the whistle, and on the countdown 3, 2, 1, go. And the game begins. One little piece of advice, throughout the excitement and the action of the game, these will shift around, so you have a choice. You can simply just pinch it there, one of you can pinch it there with your hand, or, a friend of mine suggested the other day, you can use the clamps that come with your machine if you're making this at home, and you can just pop that on there, slide that up, give that a few pinches, and that will hold your game in place, and it doesn't really interfere with the playing of the game. So I hope you enjoyed our latest StuDIYo Lab tutorial making our bottle cap football game. You can find all of the details in the descriptions below. You can come along to our centre here on Shakeside Road, Times Square, we're up on the 1st floor, or you can have our home hire kit and we will provide you with a machine, all the materials you need to be able to make these projects in the comfort of your own home. That's it for now, we'll see you next time.